My name is Ray Barnhart. I want you to imagine something. Close your eyes, or imagine closing your eyes. And picture the gayest little boy that you could ever imagine. Imagine, you know, like if in an alternate universe time continuum, I don't even know, that's not anything, I just made that up. But imagine in another world, Tennessee Williams and Ina Garten, the barefoot Contessa, were to meet at a cocktail party in East Hampton, and while not fall in love, enjoy each other's company so much that they decided to produce a child, a fruit of their union, you know. And, you know, they wanted to have somebody who was theatrical and also has an appreciation for decadent yet unpretentious food, you know. And they decided once this child was born, they wanted to raise this future bon vivant, not in any place that made sense, like Paris or New York City or even Oregon. Instead, they wanted to raise him in a small town in rural Kansas. Not even a small town, more of a hamlet. Not that anybody there knows who or what a hamlet is. And I want to tell you right now, this is no surprise, I was that child. I was that gayest little goose. I want to read you something. I just bought this book on Amazon.com. I started buying this series, the used books, the used copies of this series, the best plays in their yearbooks of theater on Broadway and throughout the country. And usually when I get a copy of this, it's from a library that's closed down, because we actually have a problem in our country about libraries closing down. I care about that. John McCain probably doesn't care about that. Barack Obama would tell you that he cares about it, and yet he probably doesn't really care that much about it. But it's something that bothers me. Anyway, I've been getting these books. I know, I'm just a raging political anecdotalist. You know? Anyway, I opened this book, and this did not come from a library. This came from a person's library, and there was an inscription inside. It's clearly from a student to a teacher, and June 14th. Wait, you know what? I don't know what this Stephen Raphael sounded like in 1984. I do know what I sounded like in 1984. So here goes. June 14th, 1984. Mr. Knight, I hope this book brings you some hours of joy. I hope that every time you open it, you will think of me and all your students and be proud of all that you have taught them. Thank you for everything, Stephen Raphael. I wanted to come up with a pseudonym for him, you know, something gay, like Christopher Michelangelo. And then I realized Stephen Raphael sounded gay enough. When I was growing up, I spent a lot of time in the library in my hometown. And, you know, sometime after I'd read all of the Boxcar Children mystery series, and after I'd read The Undertaker's Gone Bananas by Paul Zindel about 10 times, and before I discovered James Baldwin, and by discover James Baldwin, I mean just like 10 pages of James Baldwin, but I discovered those 10 pages a lot, like over and over again.
What's
Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Yes. Anyway, before then, or even actually really, who am I kidding, at the same time, I also discovered the theater section in my local library. And it was this, you know, I would go upstairs, that's where it was, and I would read plays, and I would read books about actors, and books about writers, and books about movies and plays. And it was this window into this world that I knew nothing about, and yet I was, for some reason, completely drawn to. And I knew that someday I wanted to be a part of that world. And when I opened up this book, these books were among the books that were in the library. And when I opened up this book and I read this inscription, this guy, I just thought, he sounds so me-ish, you know, like, what is the story of Stephen Raphael? What is the story of Mr. Knight? Whatever happened to him, you know? And so, you know, we live we live in a time where we can find those things out. So I went to Facebook, and I typed in the name Stephen Raphael, and a bunch of profiles came up, but only a handful of them were over 20, and only 2 of them didn't live in Manchester, England. So the one that looked right, I went ahead and sent a message to. This will sound totally random, but ... Did you have a teacher in high school named Mr. Knight? Perhaps a drama teacher? If so, I think I have a book that you gave him many years ago. If I have the wrong person, please disregard this. Even on Facebook, I'm polite. And then just a few hours later, I got this response. Yes, yes, yes! He was a very influential teacher of mine. I heard he passed away a few years ago. Are you related to him? What is the book? I would love to know what the book is and what the connection is. And at that point, I was feeling very Jessica Fletcher-ish, and with shades of Hercule Poirot. So I responded like this. I recently started buying used copies of the Best Place series on Amazon.com. You can buy them for a couple bucks a piece, and they are usually old library books. I didn't go into my digest. A few days ago, I got the Best Plays of 1979, 1980, and this time there was an inscription from a student, Stephen Raphael, to a teacher, Mr. Knight. June 14th, 1984, Mr. Knight. I hope this book brings you some hours of joy. I hope that every time you open it, you will think of me and all your students and be proud of all that you have taught them. Thank you for everything, Stephen Raphael. I assume Mr. Knight was a drama teacher, and I was curious about the story of who he was and how he clearly inspired this Stephen Raphael in 1984. And I'm also curious about Mr. Knight's lasting influence. I am currently working on a storytelling piece, sort of like The Moth, about the Best Place series, what they meant to me growing up. That's why I'm collecting them right now. And I think there might be something in your story, in Mr. Knight's story, that might augment my story. With your permission, of course. Also, I wondered if you might like to have the book back for sentimental reasons. I would be more than happy to give it back to you. As I said, it was not very expensive. And it might mean much more to you than it does to me. I guess that's it. I'm glad that you had a Mr. Knight, and I'm sure you were one of his favorite students, Ray Barnhart. And then I didn't hear anything back. And then I realized why I spent so much time in the library, because I was such a dork growing up. I was the guy that did things that normal people don't do, And this guy, he thinks I'm a psycho, and I'm not a psycho, although I'm a little bit of a psycho, but I'm not that much of a psycho. And I lived with that for a couple days, and then I got this. Your message made me cry. I'd love to talk to you more about your project, and I would love to have the book. Are you in LA? Blah, 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 blah. Here's my information. And then he says, I'm a film producer / distributor. And I got to talk to him a couple days after that, and what happened when he was being taught by this Mr. Knight. It set in path a journey of his life, and he's always worked, in the arts, and he's always had a love for theater and film. And it's like sometimes we don't think that we're the same person that we were in 1984, but we are. We're all that guy, And one of the things that he told me was that, oh, and by the way, I know what you want to know. No, Mr. Knight was not gay. You're all gossips. Seriously. But he said, I didn't even know exactly what it was, but I knew that I wanted to get out. And that's exactly how I felt when I was growing up in this crazy little small town where nobody understood me. Thank God for theater, because it's where those effeminate boys that don't fit anywhere fit in.
Aww.
My name is Ray Barnhart. Tomorrow this will be in a bubble envelope to New York City. The stories it will take with it. My name is Ray Barnhart.